I guess it's kind of like band camp, basically. We got an offer from this place in upstate New York to just come hang out for a week, and they would, give us these kind of almost vacation-style cabins, sell tickets to this, basically to hang out with us, to learn what we do, to be able to go to different clinics to meet us personally, kind of get behind the veil of this rock star thing. So I thought it was a cool idea. It was kind of weird. Still is kind of weird. But I guess they do this kind of thing all the time, and our band was one of the ones that was asked for more often than anybody else. So they reached out. Also for them, I think it was odd that they were having, kind of this, I don't know what you call it, but, a metal band coming up there. I think they'd had some kind of like virtuoso guys do the same kind of thing prior to us. But I went on the website, and it looks like, a pretty nice place to take a family for a weekend or something. And so I figured, what the heck? I've done drum clinics, and I've been in this band long enough. I can just kind of tell my story and let people hang out. We came up with a curriculum where we're going to have certain things go on during the day, where there'll be guitar clinics, guitar lessons, drum clinics, drum lessons, kind of one-on-one stuff, and then there's going to be kind of writing sessions where we'll just kind of sit in a room with people that are interested in the writing process, and go back and forth on how we do what we do and how we kind of beat each other up about ideas and build on certain things. And then I guess there's one night where we're going to basically perform, I wouldn't call it a concert because it's not really a venue there, but we'll put on a set, and that'll be kind of towards the end of the week, where we've given lessons all week, and whoever, like if there's a particular drum student that's really good at one song, he'll come up and play that one song when we get to it during the concert. And we're also bringing our tour manager to talk about that aspect of things, our sound guy to talk about doing sound in a live setting, and a few of our techs to talk about what it's like, if you're not necessarily the singer or whatever, if you're working behind the scenes, how to get into that business as well. So I think it's kind of just basically a week-long instructional class on every side of what we do. I think we all really think of ourselves as, at least, I think we probably all think of ourselves as 4/5 of the band, if not more. But normally when we do write songs, I've found kind of a niche with the guys, in that I may bring in a rhythm, maybe something that I've been working on my own, just kind of exploring, either polyrhythms or trying to, get myself to do something that I haven't done before, or maybe a tab exercise that I've kind of worked out or whatever. Sometimes just a very basic rhythm can build, a part or a riff. And I do play drums like the way I would want to play guitar. I try to play them musically and add things and subtract things and try to syncopate with what is already existing in the music. But most of the time the guys come in with something on guitar first. So I found my role I found is to help kind of glue things together, find in my kind of memory bank and remember the thing that we did 3 days ago that's going to sound really good with what just came in the door, instead of, while the guys are focusing on, playing what they came up with the night before perfectly to show the room what's going on, I'm immediately thinking, what is that sit next to music really to take it to a different level on a rhythm level. I've done several projects where it was basically all internet. I did a couple songs with Roger Zombek, where we were never in the same room at the same time. I just came home. The band hasn't announced that I'm taking part in it, but I just recorded an album with a band outside of the country. Spent a month out of the country, and that was all done with me learning here in Richmond and then flying there to record it. But in Lamb of God, we have never done that. We all live within about 15 or 20 minutes of each other, and we shut ourselves in a room, like all the wildly unsuccessful bands of the past have done, and actually come up with ideas and argue and beat each other up about it. So to me, the difference is feel, and I think feel gets lost a little bit when you're sending MP3s around and kind of being told what to do or just to program to this or that. I think you lose a lot of that energy that happens between people that are collaborating in music. Not to say that it's not efficient and has obviously created some great opportunities for people to work with each other, and I don't want to talk bad about it, but in my experience, being in a room with other people and collaborating is kind of a next level experience in the writing process. Yeah, it's black and white. I mean, there's really very little similarities. In the concert setting, it's all about, the rock show, and I've got four guys in front of me making all kinds of noise that are, kind of hiding me, and I can kind of be in the back in my own world, and although certainly there are parts of our songs where, the lighting guy is highlighting me, or, I know that there's, there's drum breaks that, kids are asking me to do, in clinics and stuff. So I realize that my drums are a significant part of the music that people are paying attention to, but I definitely feel the shelter by the idea of this PA pumping out, music at 110 decibels. It sounds like a jet's going off, and there's people running around, there's beer being served at the bar. It's a little more comfortable, and that's how I came up. I would go to rock shows when I was a kid. I would, be there buying beer and, certainly interested in seeing the guys perform it the way that I heard it on the album, because that was impressive, but it wasn't quite as extreme or being under the microscope as doing a clinic, where for me that was it's absolutely torture test. And I'd never done a clinic before I was called by Modern Drummer to do the Modern Drummer Fest, which is like the I'm sure you and your readers know, it's basically the Super Bowl of clinics. And I'd never done one before, but I felt like there was no way that I could tell these people no. I'd be such a jerk to say no to this. Like, I got to rise to the occasion. So I spent months just talking to a brick wall in my rehearsal space, kind of going over what I wanted to say, like exactly what I wanted to say. And although watching it now, I can see how nervous I was and almost blacked out during the performance of it. I think I've loosened up quite a bit since then in the ones I've done since then, but even that one seemed to go fairly well, and people talk to me about that particular one all the time, I guess because it was on DVD and a little more popular than the one-off city ones that I do. So, but from there, I was able to kind of parlay that into having the ability to do more clinics. So it was I got a big jump start on being a clinician, and I've never considered myself a clinician. I didn't grow up studying drums, and I'm not a theory guy at all, so it was really kind of daunting to step into that pool, knowing that most of the guys that do it are very well taught, handing out handouts and drum tabs and exercises, and really going into very microscopic details of playing. And I've always been kind of the guy with the drumsticks in one hand and a beer in the other. So it turned into me kind of telling my story and how I got to where I was, and showing a few examples of how I think of things differently behind the kit than maybe some other people do. And I think that really actually worked. I think there's a lot of people in the audiences for clinics that, while I think there's some people there that want to know, that microscopic detail and get down to really nitty-gritty stuff, I think that the mass of people are more interested in, if they wanted to be on that stage, what does it take to get there? And I think my story is more important than, going home and playing paradiddles with pressure on myself to be far more, even more so than a concert. And I put a lot of pressure on myself at every concert. You know, I'll warm up for 2 to 3 hours before every concert. But on the clinic runs that I was doing, you know, I would make sure I got the right amount of sleep, make sure I was eating well. I would have anything to drink. It was very serious business that I was, you know, kind of under the microscope, and I did not want to miss, you know, a single beat, whether it was in the talking presentation or the playing. So it may very well have been that no one would have noticed, but I definitely took it very seriously that everyone was there to notice that, and I was going to make sure that I could do my best every night. Well, initially starting off, it's pretty difficult. You got to learn how to make it work without the tools to make it work. What I mean is that while we are able to tour the U.S. with our own equipment and gear, a lot of times, especially when we were coming up and for young bands, when you show up someplace, you can't afford to bring all that stuff on the airplane. You can't afford to ship it over, and you're basically showing up either with rental gear or you're borrowing somebody's gear that's playing that night, or just using whatever the club might have there. So you have to be able to kind of adapt to those challenges that occur, and you know it's often frustrating, and I've seen guys, you know, really losing their mind about it. I've had several times where I've showed up and there were literally no cymbals, none. So there are obstacles, so that, you know, it just kind of comes and goes, and you got to be not only prepared. I don't mean prepared like, you know, having a bag of cymbals in your backpack. I mean mentally prepared that it may not be what you need, and you still have to make it sound good. And that can be tough, because I know a lot of bands put a lot of pressure, just like I do, on myself, to be perfect and to put on their best show. And with faulty gear, and you can't bring the right people along, you don't have your sound guy, there's no text, the guitar has 7 strings instead of 6. You know, it's not the gauge you play, it's tuned wrong, whatever. There's a million things that can already go wrong, even if you're using your own stuff. But when you just kind of show up with a bag of underwear, it's pretty challenging to get it done right. So you just got to be ready for that kind of thing, and as you pay your dues and make those kinds of situations work in your favor, you get to the point where you can bring a little more the next time and the next time. And you know, now we're at the point where we have basically a storage shed in England where we keep a copy of everything that we have in the U.S. So when we arrive there, we just pull up and grab it out. I mean, I have had moments where sitting behind the kit, even if we're playing, you know, we did like a 2-year run with Metallica, so we're playing the biggest places on the planet, like all over the planet, and still when you look out and you see that kid holding his camera up and just the red light is on, you do kind of, mentally you do kind of freak out a little bit and want to make sure that, you know it's going up on YouTube. You want to make sure you're not flubbing it entirely, but you can't really focus on that. I mean, if you're already on stage, you know, in front of 10 people, never mind 50,000 people, then you got to have some confidence in what you're doing, and you got to just do the best that you can. And there's always going to be something that is, you know, potentially going to take you off your game, and you got to just kind of, with experience, you get through that. You know, you get a couple beers thrown at your head, you get booed off the stage a couple times, you know, you see a red light, you know, you just keep on trucking. Yeah, it's tough because the instrument is basically packed away on a truck and then being set up on stage. And so for me to take the stage and rehearse on my own kit would be, you know, very, very annoying to all the people that are working on stage and maybe setting up other bands or the techs that are walking around. And it has many times happened before that, you know, I'll be working something out, like if I'm having a hard time with a part in the middle of tour, because things come and go all the time, and normally the more often you play a particular song, sometimes the worse it gets. It's just a random thing that happens with players. You know, some Mondays are better to play drums than other Mondays, and it just is what it is. But I've had techs come up and tell me to shut up. So it is difficult to get time with my actual instrument, but I did put together just a probably seen them at your local music store where you can test out the pedals. You can sit down and get these little beater things.
Yeah.
I've got 2 of those, 2 pedals, and a 12-inch snare pad that I Velcro around my leg, so I can basically sit in the folding chair in any room and kind of run through, what I need to do. And while it's certainly far from an exact replica of my kit, it does present its own challenges, and it helps me kind of think in other ways as well. So, like I said, I'll spend sometimes 2-3 hours, at least an hour and a half every day with that little setup in some back room closet somewhere by myself, playing along to either our music or something on my iPod, or maybe some exercises that I'm doing. So I definitely try to keep up on the road. And beyond that, I'm kind of an exercise freak, so I'll spend 3 hours at the gym before I come back and do that. So I think those two together kind of help keep me up to snuff every night. There's no real cheat codes. I mean, we've all practiced, a million hours and woodshedded this stuff forever. And I definitely think the one thing that helped us get through a lot of the times where we got shit on by the headliner band, or given a hard time by the audience, or got through those frustrating moments where we didn't have our gear, or just really all the hurdles and all the dues that we've had to pay. Broken transmissions in the van, and whatever the whiny story is that you could come up with, we dealt with it and just paying your dues. But the way that we didn't crack through all of that was because we really loved the music that we were playing, and it didn't matter if 5 people showed up. That was far from a disappointment. That was great because we got to turn 5 people on to what we were doing. So I think we judged our success by how well we liked our own music, and when we did that, I think it became a bit more contagious than chasing the idea of trying to get, more heads in a room to watch you play. So that was, if there was a secret for us, and I guess it might sound cheesy, but it's truth. We really just, we